So we're up to 7.3, chapter 7, Halacha Gimel. We started discussing the new topic in Hilchos Yesodei Torah of Neviut, of prophecy, and we discussed how the Rambam talks about the qualifications of a Navi. Right, you have to be on your A game in order to accept Nevius. And then he spoke about how Chachma, Gibor, right? It's not for everyone or for practically anyone. And then we spoke about how there are different levels, right? There's different rankings. So in Halacha Gimel, he discusses um, the 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 theme of how you get nevuah, meaning what does it appear as? So he says, "Hadvarim shemodian lanavi b'mara hanavua derech mashal modian lo." So when you read, Nach, you'll see many instances where the navi gets his nevuah through what we call a mashal. Okay, like a an image, an allegory, a depiction. Okay, it's not direct, but it's indirect. Okay, that's what we call a derech mashal. Umiyad yechakek b'libo pitaron hamashal b'mara hanavua v'yadamahu. And right away, the Navi, if he's on that level, figures out what the interpretation of this mashal is. Okay, and then he'll know how to respond. And the Rambam jumps right into it, and he says, for example, Kamo hasulam shera Yaakov Avinu umalachim olim v'yardim bo. So the Rambam takes a stand on, for example, what the dream that Yaakov had. So we just interpreted, yeah, it was a dream, but it was much more than a dream. It was a nevuah. And the Rambam is saying, what kind of a nevuah was it? So being that we had this last week in Vayetze, there's many different interpretations of what the Sulam represented. I think the Ibn Ezer discusses it. It was different worlds. It was a lower world. It was an upper world. The Ramban brings another discussion what the Sulam represented. Rashi focuses on the Malachim. So everyone has a different interpretation of what it was. The Rambam, though, says that it refers to the Malchios Vishibudan, the vicissitudes of the Jewish people amongst their various exiles, right? And that's why you have it going up and going down. You have good times and you have bad times. Coincidentally, I heard a unbelievable shir last week given by Shalom Rosner on the Medrash in the beginning of Vayetze, where he talks about, where the Medrash brings down, the Medrash says, what does God do all day? If anyone's interested to know what God does all day, so the Medrash says that God makes ladders all day long. And he had a whole 45-minute class on what that means. If anyone's interested, I could send it to you. But anyways, so that's speaking of ladders. So ladders is all a mashal for the Jewish people and their various ups and downs, their galus, their Bavel, Mada, Yavan, Paras, right, the ups and the downs. That's what the Sulam represents, and that's why Yaakov was given this mashal. Ukamo hachayos shara Yecheskel, right? If you know how Sefer Yecheskel starts off, right, which is the Maisa Merkava, right? He's the throne surrounded by different animals. V'hasir nafuach umakal shaket shira Yirmiyahu, right? If you remember the way Yirmiyahu starts, it says Ma taroeh, and the Navi says Ani roeh makel shakud, something like that, right? Or sir nafuach, a boiling pot. I see a rod. I see something. Shira Yirmiyahu v'Megillah shira Yecheskel, or the Megillah that Yecheskel saw. The ha'efa, or the measuring cup. Shira Zachariah v'chen sha'ar hanavim. The common denominator is that they're all seeing images that have to be interpreted. right? They're not flat out messages. They all have to be interpreted. V'chen shar hanaviyim. Mehen omrim hamashal upitrono kumo elu. Some of them say the mashal. Some of these neviim, they say the mashal and the explanation. V'yesh mehen omrim hapitorim rod. Some skip the mashal and they only tell you, as we would say, the bottom line. Upamim omrim hamashal bilvad below pitaron. Some just give a mashal without the pitaron. Kimiktzas divrei Yecheskel Zachariah, like the way Yecheskel and Zachariah did. V'kulam b'mashal, but the bottom line is all of these prophecies, right? They come in forms of mishalim. V'derech chida hem misnabin. Chida is the Hebrew word today for riddle, is a chida, but it doesn't literally mean riddle. Well, it does mean, because that's what this is all about, right? I'm going to tell you something and you have to figure it out. That's what a riddle is. But they all come through allegories, and that's how the nevuah is given over. One exception, though, I was thinking, is Yonah, right? When it came to Yonah, if you remember the beginning, there was no mashal, there was nothing. It's just, hey, go to Nineveh, the people are sinning, right? And Yonah gets on a boat and decides to run away. So I think, I don't know, that's one possible exception, unless I'm missing something. But it just seems that with Yonah, he was given the nevuah flat out, without any allegory or anything else. So, okay, be that as it may. So now that we discussed the mashal aspect, in Dalid it says Kol hanavim ein misnabin b'chol eitz sheyirtzu. So these neviim, they just don't start giving nevuah whenever they want. Ela mechavanim daitam, right? They have to pay attention. They have to concentrate. V'yoshvin smechin v'tovei levim uzbodidin. They have to always be in the right frame of mind. Why is that so important? That they constantly have to be in the right frame of mind? Because it's like you're on call, right? If a doctor's on call, if someone's on call, they can never drink, they can never do anything that will impinge on their ability to do what they're supposed to do. So too, a Navi is always on call, so he always has to be in the right mood. So what is the right mood? She'ein hanavua shora lo mitoch atzlos el mitoch simcha. So the Rambam is stealing a line from Meseches Psachim, all the way at the end in Arvei Psachim. It says that Shechina does not fall upon someone unless they are in a good mood. They have to be happy, right? You can't be sad, you can't be depressed. The ultimate, right, elixir is someone who is constantly ready to accept nevuah, right? So you don't need Lexapro for that. All you need is the possibility of you're going to get nevuah. Then you'll always be in a state of simcha, because that's the only way you're going to be able to give nevuah, is if you're in this constant state of simcha. Lefichach, therefore, b'nei hanaviyim, right? So it doesn't literally mean sons, but it means the talmidim of the neviim always had to make sure that these navis were in the right mood. And how do they do that? Right? So lifnehem nevel v'tof achal v'kino v'hen levakshin hanavua. They always had to be accompanied by a marching band, right? Because that, at least then, was the way to guarantee happiness. Okay, today we have other ways of making sure people are happy. Then, with the limited technology that they had, all they had were musical instruments. So therefore, they always had to be in the right mood, and that's the way to get them in the right mood, is by serenading them. And this is what the pasuk means in Shmuel, where the pasuk is vehema misnabim. They were prophesizing. Klomar mahalchim b'derech hanavua ad sheyinabu. Right? That these people were were following in the derech of Nevuah until they said the Nevuah. Kumosha ata omer ploni mitgadel. Just as someone would say, someone, ploni, so-and-so, wants to be great. Mitgadel wants to be great. So the only way to get into that mood is by being in a constant state of simcha, right? So it's not just a like the Gemara says that Shechina doesn't the divine presence doesn't dwell amongst people who are depressed and sad, right? You always have to be in a good mood. Okay, we'll do one more little one. Number 5. Elu shehem mavakshel hisnabe hem hanikram b'nei hanevim. Those who want, those who have a desire to prophesize, they are called b'nei hanevim, right? The students of the neviim, right? So you have a navi, and then the navi, what we would say, the navi wannabes are called b'nei neviim. V'afal pi shemachavnin daitam, even though they have the potential, because they always are in the right frame of mind, but efshar shetishra shchina aleihen v'efshar shelo tishra. We don't know, right? But you always have to be prepared. So because you don't know if you're going to get that call, so to speak, you always have to be prepared and be in the right frame of reference. Okay, we'll stop here. That's okay, because the next one is a big one.